Hey guys, the new Path of Exile League dropped and has actually brought me out of retirement. This was the build I cooked up and League started, which is the beautiful Death's Oath Occultist. It needs no introduction. For Giga Map blasting, this build is insane, and I've had one of my most profitable League starts ever, just pumping fast and early. That said, this build has a lot of pain points, a lot of difficulties. I have over 300 deaths, and while I did my Void Stones, it was usually a 6 portal defense. Like, I literally had to get Leap Slam Culling Strike to kill my Hexpass. I'm just kind of going to give a rundown of how I run this build differently to others, because there's quite a lot of guides out there, and then some tips and information that I haven't really seen people talk about. So first off, in the description you'll find I have a link to the path of building. Here you can navigate through the loadouts at the top right for each stage of the build. In the notes as well, I've detailed item progression order and roughly the costs. For a lot of these upgrades, you need to upgrade multiple at once. For example, with Sundered Will, you will need to have access to cluster jewels and other sources of increased damage so you can actually get the ring working. I also have my character on Per Ninja, where you can exactly see the gear I had day by day. And then lastly, I have a link to a forum post. I set this up with trade links for all the purchases you need to make in order, just to make life easier. It's a bit old school using the forum, but I kind of prefer it over the alternatives, being Maxroll and Mobalytics. I just like the forum a lot. So Death's Aura. It's an aura that deals damage. One of the most important scaling vectors for Death's Oath is increased aura effect, and we can get a huge amount of this with the Sundered Will. This is a bit of a tricky ring, and with quite a lot of misinformation as well, even on the wiki. So every source of increased chaos damage also applies to our aura effect at 15% of its value, up to a maximum of 150%. So naturally, 1000% increased chaos damage would hit the maximum. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually work this way, and it instead applies to each source individually. The most frequently used sources of chaos damage are the Lighter Meaning and Tawahu's Warrior Tattoos, which give us 6% and 5% increased chaos damage respectively. These actually give us no increased aura effect, as it doesn't even hit the breakpoint needed. In order to get to the breakpoint, you need to at least have 7% chaos damage, as that reaches a breakpoint of 1.05 and we get 1% aura effect. Another way to think of this is that every 20% of chaos damage in a single source gives us 3% increased aura effect. A very min-max build will only ever reach about 50% of the 150% aura effect you can get. The only way around this is to use 2 Sundered Wills, as they will then both contribute to those breakpoints. This is an example of the aura effect with and without the second ring from a different path of building. It results in about a 50% DPS increase. Leading with that, this is the reason why I chose to opt for a staff as my main weapon instead, as it can provide one of the largest sources of increased chaos damage in the game. Cane of Kulemak drops from the Syndicate Mastermind and drops unveiled. It also comes with a massive chaos dot multiplier, and if you're incredibly lucky or rich, you can get Explode alongside it to bring your explode chance up to 95%. I'm getting over 60% increased aura effect from the staff alone. A staff I would love to highlight is the Grey Spire. This gives crazy damage, as it gives up to 400% global damage, which also applies to our Death's Oath. It comes with 50% attack block and 5% to all maximum resistances, which includes chaos, and it works very well with our Divine Flesh. I loved using this before switching to Sundered Will, and it probably felt tankier than even the endgame setup I was running on. It's incredibly slept on unique, and it's very cheap. Now for our amulet, we're going to use and abuse the Impresence. Free curse auras to keep enemies primed and ready to explode with Profane Bloom. One of the best and most underused techs for this setup is to actually use Eldritch Blasphemy, but also to use Hexpass. Hexpass makes it so enemies affected by our curses can no longer crit, which is a ridiculously huge defensive stat. We lose about 4% DPS by not going Arrogance, but it more than makes up for it due to the quality of life, to the fact that we don't take that extra damage. Vow Blight is our single target setup. I've been running this in the gloves with an Essence of Delirium mod on them. You can optionally run them as a 6-link in your staff at the sacrifice of your movement skill. I don't really manually cast Blight too much, and I mostly just pop the Vow Blight on the map boss or a juicy pack of harvest mobs. The primary farming strategies that I used for this build were Delirium of Paranoia and Harvest Juicin. Delirium of Paranoia is incredibly simple. You grab a map, I literally just out and go, and then put 5 Scarabs of Paranoia in. Run through the deli mirror, speedrun the map as fast as you can, and grab charts plus heist. As soon as you hit 6 rewards, beeline for the boss, as getting 8 rewards is quite rare. Once the boss is dead, end the delirium and pick up the loot explosion. Rinse and repeat for about 40 maps in a row, and then go into a big liquidation phase. Liquidating is a little annoying in this strategy as there's a lot to sell. You have things like fragments, essences, deli orbs, gems, and cluster jewels. But early in a league, this was very profitable due to the cluster jewel sales. The second farming strategy that is simple for this build is harvest. I keep it really simple, and I just run a harvest scarab of doubling and 4 sacrifice fragments. For the maps, I grab 100% quantity and 40% pack size maps, and the rejects I use is in the forum post and the path of building. Speed round to the harvest, once again make sure to grab charts, and then focus on farming yellow and then blue plots. I ignore purple completely. Spam 40 to 60 in a row, sell all the juice in bulk, rinse and repeat. In this strategy, Devourers are going to ruin your day, and you probably won't level up, so just understand that's going to happen. I would portal at every harvest every single time. For leveling this build, I ran with a Chaos Spellslinger setup, inspired by Jungrone's Cold Dot Spellslinger leveling. I did Act 1 with Kinetic Bolt, and then switched to Bane and Essence Drain. In Act 3, you make the Spellslinger swap, and cruise all the way to yellow maps. I swapped from this, straight into Death's Oath, and started progressing through the build. This was a pretty scuffed way to do it, and I struggled a lot. However, struggling and pushing through still gave me the best start I've ever had, rather than trying to reroll like I previously would. These days with how cheap Death's Oath is, it'll probably be even better, because I bought Death's Oath for 30 chaos on day 1. Originally, this video was going to be a 0 to hero video, but I kind of really whiffed on the recordings and forgot to record many moments of gameplay. There were times where I bought gear and upgraded my staff, belt, gloves and stuff. And then my next clip was me upgrading my staff yet again. And I forgot to record anything in between. So we're going to end with a quick gamble. We'll gamble these cards up to a mirror and then reset my stash so I can do a 0 to hero build for the next build.
All in order.
I can kill myself.